there are differences. The Adobe is like, I would say 2 steps above Final Cut. Final Cut feels a little more elevated and I think everyday or content creation friendly. I like Final Cut on my phone, and I think that depends on how much space you have. My actual real advice is shoot shorter. And that is probably more annoying, but it will give you more, it gives you more control on how you're making your content creation. That's what I've like caught, especially when you're using your phone. Because then you're able to tile together the pieces that you need. And it gives a little more room, especially when you're messing with time, tempo, space, environment. So I would do that. Just looking at the chat before I try to break you out in breakout rooms. I don't see how to do the breakout rooms for some reason, even though I'm co-host, but
I should be able to.
Yeah. It's not showing up on my thing. Give me 30 seconds. Do you have access? Oh, this is a good one. Do you have access to multiple cameras? I have access to multiple phones. So I don't get rid of my phones. I get the next phone. So that's just like a wise bit. I also love in terms of creating ensemble work or group work. It's like, I'm going to focus on these 2 characters for this day. So I might be, if I'm the A shot, like the story or the scene is about me and I'm the A, then we're going to take just the period to focus on my shots, but everybody that's in the scene will be acting. And then the next day the B is the focus. And then the next day the C is the focus. And then there might be a wide shot day. Does that make sense? And they're doing the scene over and over, but everybody gets to handle cameras, pick angles, and see how from either worm's eye, bird's eye, side, profile, dollied, stagnant, handheld, how they're able to like take a photo, or how's the scene make sense one way or the other. Does that help? I also think that you want to win over a class, let everybody take out their devices and capture it. And then my investment is in storage. So your cloud needs to be pretty big. So there are like, I usually have a separate cloud and or I start a Google for a project, if that helps. So if the project is Clyde, and I'm trying to take just shots for Clyde, same way that when you have a new ensemble, you start at like wizardofoz.com, like in your school title, I start a new account for those and then I just deactivate it so that I have the 15 gigs of that. And then I buy a little bit extra. Same questions, Ryan. And I do like iPads. There are like handheld devices for iPads. Like Soderbergh was really innovative in what he did for an iPad. You also can let that be your wide shot while you have your handhelds, like while you have your phones be the handhelds or the dollies. We've used a lot of scooters. We've used a lot of skateboards to be instant dollies with like broomsticks. We've also used that to be booms in terms of capturing sound. I think there's a lot of very interesting ways of capturing angles, and that would be my suggestion, is like to get fully students engaged in it. let them all use them, if that makes sense. Does that make any good for editing? Final Cut, Adobe, just because it's PC and Apple kind. I like Wondershare. Yeah, it does have better sound design options. I think it depends on that's my suggestion. Like, I'm very much an Apple girl and we use, like, I know DOE, we have to go through both, or at least like you're usually using some form of PC and then you're also using some form of Apple. Hands down, content creation film is going to be your best friend on an Apple, but there are a lot of PCs that handle this type of work. So I really do think like getting the apps according to the equipment you have does help. Yep. I've had elementary school kids use their phones, and as long as they know how to do the settings, they know what mode it is, and they submit their work. So they have to submit their shots, and that's how they submit their work. So then it gets erased because I'm watching them airdrop it. They get it, they show me the clean, and then they go forward. There's only but so many camera people too, and that's like the rotation. So everybody gets a turn if you're talking about it in terms of centers, right? So let's say John, Jane, Jill, Jack, and Jason were the camera operators on Monday. Then Casey, Cameron, Kyle, Carl, and Carrie are the phone operators on, or the camera operators on Tuesday, and so on. I have some Chromebooks. So here's what I would say. If you have Chromebooks, or you have, yep, they can record on Padlet. So like an iPad or a Padlet or any of that kind of stuff, as long as it can capture, that's the name of the game. You know, there's also still some very old school cameras that do work, that have the SD card. That's also very much appropriate.
Yeah, when you use the SD card situation though, because when we film the movie, the DSLRs come out, but they don't come out other than that, because we even broke one last year. But
no.
yeah, I know. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to afford to get it fixed. But the idea of like having a person who's designated, who knows this is how it comes out, and you know, hours it had, the batteries have to be charged, to like assigning monitors to keep on top of all of that. It's definitely doable, but it's like, it is a lot of like planning ahead, and like when you're figuring out your centers, like who's that person that's their job at the end to do.
So I've also like had, like, like we're kind of doing now, like I've had lab with students. So I tried to say, all right, if you want to take a lunch period with me to learn this skill, this is this lunch for this week. So it's like, if you want to learn about how to use the SD card, I give them that. I also like know that I'm the top bit. So I would say at this point, I'm producer, there's directors, there's ADs, there's whomever, but as producer, I get final say, and they know that I'm final cut. So they need to submit to me, and it's very much the language that's used in the classroom. Or I'm equipment manager, or I can tell there's someone that's an equipment manager. So like they check in with me to check in about how things are operating. I hope you are using DonorsChoose if possible for equipment. and or like repairs, that does work. I have done that before.
Wait, you can do donors choose for repairs?
Well, I've like said, this is to replace this camera.
Okay, okay.
And then I've been able to kind of like loop it in. So then I get two. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
that it gives me now two cameras instead of like the price of one. So I might like pad it, but with the intent that I'm going to get this fixed. And also check your warranties. That was something that was like a late idea that I took for granted. Check the warranties of all of your equipment, everyone, whether it be theater or film wise. You are within your right to get replacements. You are within your right to get things checked and serviced. Check your warranties. I was shocked about how many things that I could get replaced free.
Naima,
Yes, I
that's
do.
huge. Thank you so much.
I do use green screen sometime. Ryan, yes, I also do have students submit on Google Classroom just because it shows as evidence of work that they've done. They can upload that way. Also, I don't know if you all know of WeTransfer. It allows you a one-time transfer. It is a free service, and it allows you to transfer material that is like big gigabytes, big time storage without it overloading their computer or your computer. So at least it gives you the file, and then you can figure out a way to store it. Work to replace the background. Keep asking you use them. We have one computer, a few. So I'm gonna grab you after, Dina, for in terms of like green screen, because it's really about how you key out somebody. Okay. Do people still use Flipgrid? Do people still use Flipgrid? Does anybody want to answer in the chat?
I use it for like if kids are like doing a story demo or like pitching an idea, like I'll use Flipgrid because then they can turn off the camera and they can just use the audio, but it's not consistent. Like some phones it works on, some phones it doesn't, some computers it works on, some things it doesn't. So if you send it home as like an assignment, which is usually what I do, you're always going to get like 10% of kids that it acts up for. And like, it doesn't seem like the quality is sort of like a Snapchat quality. Like it like has like frames and cute little filters and stuff, but I don't know if you'd want to use it for like film stuff.
I use it for conversation, like to have a discussion without interruption, but I don't really use it for creation. Yeah, Padlet can be a little more, I would say, creator friendly.
Only problem is it's expensive if you want to have unlimited ones. Otherwise you have to, you wear the disguise and put a different email and make a new fake account and whatnot.
Okay.
Naima, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
This is random because I've never done a donors choose. I heard you mention that before. I don't know if you know this or not. I just was wondering if you do a donors choose and you want to get equipment, like some cameras. I have a handheld in my classroom. I got a GoPro. If you do a donors choose, is that then like owned and property of the DOE, or is that under you that you could take with you if you have a new teaching gig? I don't know.
It's your schools.
It's your school.
Yeah, and depending on your school, it will depend on how they want to inventory it, but it does belong to your school.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're doing the donation under your school, which is the nonprofit. I'm gonna move this over because one, I didn't expect the questions to be so whoa, and then two, because such is life. My controls are not necessarily letting me to control, but if you want to ask me questions about filming for auditions or filming for auditions, filming for submissions for high school applications, or I'm going to say middle school, high school talent, along the lines of that, just so that the conversation can move. I just wanted to open it up. And in terms of filming,
I do like monologue in my 8th grade classes so that every kid has at least one piece with an option for 2 who are interested in auditioning for high schools, because like this gives like all public school kids access to being able to audition or to submit those auditions for those programs, which is infinitely easier now. They don't have to spend every weekend at an audition at a different high school. I often like, that's often where I leave it, where I'm like, if you want me to film you, like if you don't have a quiet place at home, I will put you in front of my black curtain in my theater and film you on my cell phone, and we'll upload it and we'll like send it that way. But most of these kids are just like, no problem, like I'm just gonna do it at home. So I have no idea what their videos look like. I have no idea, you know, like it's not the same thing as like prepping them in the room, like doing all the acting stuff. So I guess something that might be helpful, whether it's like me doing it or sending them home with a checklist, because if they're just going to do it themselves in their bedroom anyway, like some big things for them to think about, that I could just be like posted on my Google Classroom or send them home with it for the kids that are not asking me to film them after school or before school.
so I would say first thing would be timed. I know you're timing it, but just everyone, I believe you are supposed to have a minute. I think you're not supposed to go over a minute. So just like allowing them to have like a timer go on is a big deal, just so that they can get a sense of like what's happening when they're filming versus like the time that's happening. Yeah, I will say this, I want to say the more infamous schools get, because they have to start making some decisions on parameters, right? Like they look at time, they do look at setup, they're looking about how you're connecting with the camera. So just having them be in frame and actually be able to see the spot. I do like using a computer because like I see the green light. So that's where like I'm giving my point of focus. You can give an assignment to like do a trial. That's what I call it. This is just a trial so that I know that they have some understanding of it. But I let them look at the mark and have a marker. I also have them check, is the volume all the way up on your device? So that's capturing sound at optimal. I have like everything up all the way. So I have the lighting all the way up. I have the sound all the way up. Is your phone or is your device on airplane mode? Am I in center so that I know where to stand? I think that a good way to do it without putting necessarily the pressure of doing like a traditional monologue, like again, some people don't want to act in front of others or they feel thrown acting in front of someone else, is by doing the slate. The slate does help. So you can film your slate and thread that in with the monologue.
I think they asked them to. I think they have to, like, their video has to start with their name, their this number, why they want to go to theater school, and then they do like one monologue and then the second monologue.
They are looking for, it's that warm authenticity.
Okay.
So it's, yes, Kate, was it you?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. They are looking for warm authenticity. And I'm saying that from from elementary school into middle school, from middle school into high school, those particular questions, why do you want to do theater? There's going to be a million people that say the same bits and pieces. I don't think every student can come up with like 100% authentic answer. I do think there is the authenticity of how comfortable they are giving that answer. That's the difference. Theater is fun and I really enjoy it and it makes me smile and I have a good time. Like if they can feel warm and genuine and honest in saying that, I think that's what that's what evaluators look at more than anything else, right? It should be a tight medium shot. I mean, I'm in a very tight, but like about here. So that's where you're filming just about. Depending on what the piece is, like if it's comedic and there's some moments to move, you can widen out the shot. If it is dramatic and it's really about talking and listening, then I would like allow it to be a tight medium. It's hard to watch the very dramatic monologues. Does that make sense? And I think some part that really like gives hiccup is like, I'm not in theater voice right now. I'm not like, there are people that do this in their videos versus like, and they're projecting and they're showing all this great like theater technique. And this is about how you're making your nonverbal person very personal, really like acting, reacting, and crafting your environment very clearly, knowing like what's happening and what's at risk and understanding what you're saying. Thanks, JD. I've been training them with movement, how to incorporate. So don't do too much with movement. Move with intention. That's what you would say in theater, right? You fill it for the back of the house, but you don't have to fill it the same way. This is your house. So like if I'm supposed to hand you something, you can hand through the frame, but it might not be so necessary if it's not moving the story forward. Like I think some of the better parts of like what to prep students for is what in the text is necessary. So, and if there are some things that are a little too magical, like I'm supposed to open a door or I'm supposed to let someone in, like if it feels too magical, then less is more. It really is about moment to moment connection, clarity, and how you really make us believe something like your storytelling. Good acting is good acting. So I'm not, what is it? Good acting is good acting. And I think everybody's seen that like kid that like has made you say, they're it. They're the it kid. I think it's about how you tone a student down and let them just be into the good acting moment on screen and let that be captured. Letting the words just really be there and float, letting the circumstances be true versus trying to make it just that per se, like something for stage. Like there is magic on camera and the magic is the person. And then there's magic on stage, and that is very much something that can happen too. I think for attendance, everyone, Lauren came through already. Laura came through. Oh, okay. So I don't know how that came so quick, and I don't I felt like there were